TV transition. What is it that they say? Oh my God. Oh, Scooby-Doo transition.
I think I asked my brother-in-law if I can borrow that movie for my 13th birthday party when it came out on VHS, something like that.
Party time. Yeah. Excellent.
Hey everyone, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us. Sarah is back, and let me go ahead and
I'm back and big on the screen
as well. Sorry, it's the end of the day, so we're a little cray. All right, so for those who stuck around and are joining the LA session, who did the LA chapter session, who did the session with Erica Michelle, I just wanted to reiterate something I mentioned this morning for those of you who might have missed it. Yes, in fact, we do have chapters. Climate designers have chapters. We have about 9 currently. They could be regions, they could be cities, they could be states. We're not really, strict on what a chapter might look like. So if you are interested in starting a Climate Designers chapter in your area, please DM me or email me. We have once every quarter, we have a chapter meetup. Chapter responsibilities are pretty light, I think. 1 event per quarter. You have tons of resources and help from me and Sarah to put one on. You have the other chapter leads to help out as well. There's a few things to be a chapter lead, but nothing too crazy. So if you feel like you want to kind of bring designers within your area out of the woodwork who are eager to take on climate action, and you think a chapter would be a good way to do that, let us know. And just an FYI, for those who live in San Francisco, we are looking for a chapter lead there as well. So if you're interested, again, DM me or email me. So super excited to end one session with our chapter leaders and transition into a new session with all of our LA chapter leads.
Yes, indeed. So thank you to all of our chapter leads for just being awesome. But thank you especially to Erica Michelle and to our LA chapter. We asked all of our chapter leads. I think we have 8 or 9 chapters now, adding and subtracting and merging all the time, so it's hard to keep track. But we asked all of our chapter leads if they wanted to do anything for party program. So it was a super wide open question. Could be a happy hour, could be a dance party, could be a workshop, anything you like. And I just thought it would be fun. All you who are listening to me right now, I'm sorry, but if Mark and I asked you, if you and some of your climate designer buddies were to do a session for a party program, what would you do? Just throw something in the chat if you had an idea. I'm really curious. But we're going to find out what the LA chapter decided to do. They were, I think, the first to jump in and say, hey, we'll do something. And so what they put together for us will be a fun session that will help you create a guide, a framework to help connect you and your neighbors to your community's planet-friendly businesses, your local representatives, and other good things to know for locals who want to nurture life-sustaining stuff in the community. Which, this fits great right after the systems thinking workshop we just did with Erica Michelle. What kept coming up was stay local. We hear this a lot, as consumers as well, buy local. But actually doing this can be kind of tricky, right? As consumers, we don't know exactly where to go to get this thing when sometimes you can just order it on Amazon. It's really easy, right? But if you want to be a conscious consumer and do the right thing, do the local thing, sometimes it can be really hard to find. But as designers, we can make choosing and supporting local businesses a little bit easier by creating some way to help consumers find good local resources, to help other businesses find good local vendors to work with, and so much more. So that's what we're going to talk about in this session. I'm super excited to hand it over to the LA chapter leads and Jamie to guide us through this process. So without further ado, I will let you all introduce yourselves and take it away.
Hi, welcome. Can everybody hear me? Thank you for sticking in all night for our session. I think this might be the latest session of the entire party program. So let's get ready to party. Or maybe it's not that late for you. I don't know. Maybe just say hello and share in the chat your city, your state, your country, your biome, your hemisphere, or indigenous nation to whom your land rightfully belongs, so we can get a sense of exactly where you're all tuning in from. First off, I'm Rachel Celanese. I'm originally from Baltimore. I've called LA home for 17 years, long enough to know that it's not a desert, but a diverse chaparral biome. And yeah, leading creative teams as a senior art director in the entertainment industry, I've often thought, why not use my expertise in brand development, conceptual 360 campaigns, and content creation that usually gets people onto their couch to Netflix and chill? Let's get them off their couches to go out and do good. So why not use my unique skills to be a climate designer? So I volunteer my time as an LA chapter co-lead to advance climate knowledge and creative projects to a community that actually cares, instead of to the empty void that is Facebook, and to connect with other creatives who value environmental justice and whose commitment to nature aligned with my own. People like Margie.
Hi, I'm Margie. I'm an LA native, and I grew up all over the place, like Alhambra, Claremont, and now I'm next to Dodger Stadium. I've been here and back and forth to Seattle, so I've been in the Pacific Northwest. So growing up, I was fortunate to have adventures with my family outdoors, like hiking and camping all over, and experience the diverse and beautiful landscapes of the beaches and mountains and deserts of LA that make it unique. I am a senior designer at Disney, designing books for consumer products. Knowing that I have been contributing to an endless sea of more stuff in the world, I had an itch to use my skills for, better use and lasting impact on the planet. Before the pandemic hit in March 2020, I discovered Climate Designers through the podcast, and it was the most productive I've felt in a while. And being a LA chapter co-lead gave me a greater purpose and responsibility to work with the community on an impactful scale. Through Climate Designers, I'm lucky to have met so many people that were on the same boat and wanted to do more than just their day jobs, like Rachel and Margaret.
And hi, I'm the other Margaret. There are two Margarets in the LA chapter, so it's always been confusing. They always confuse us. But I'm Margaret To, and I'm originally from Hong Kong, and I moved to LA for over 10 years now. So it's been a while. I'm pretty familiar with the LA area. I've also been living in Orange County as well. I'm a freelance animator and designer, and I've been really passionate about sustainability and have been doing a lot of personal projects on my own before I discovered Climate Designers. So when I also discovered Climate Designers during the pandemic, I was just mind blown. So many different creatives of all sorts are all in this community. So getting to know Rachel and Margie and being able to work together on the projects like these are just so, it's just an honor and so amazing. And we can't wait to share the Sustainable Guide project that we've been working together with you. We will let Jamie introduce herself during her section. So
welcome to I Heart My City, designing a sustainable guide for your community. We're going to walk you step by step through the process that we use to create our Urban Farmers Almanac. And we're going to cover the building blocks, and at the end of this, give you all of our templates and resources that we use so that you have everything that you need to grow this project and start a guide to your own town. Before we dive into our session, we want to acknowledge the Indigenous people of the land we now call home. A key component of sustainability and regeneration is understanding the history of our natural resources and the historic events that led us to urban life today. That is why the first chapter of our almanac is titled First, in honor of the First Nations that inhabited, cultivated, and loved this region before our country even existed. California is home to the largest Native population of any US state, with LA as the second largest population of any city. The land we know as the County of Los Angeles was originally populated by the Chumash, Kiz, and Tataviam nations. Today, members of the Kiz Nation are known as the Tongva people, and their population is roughly 3,000, in addition to the expected tens of thousands of Angelenos who are unknowingly of Kiz descent. So our chapter began 1 year ago, I think, as Margie said, in March of 2020, when our first ever Climate Designers LA meetup ended up being pushed to virtual because of the pandemic. Despite still never actually meeting each other in real life, the three of us have collaborated semi-monthly to spark conversations with our online community around organizations doing good things locally. So how did these chats wind up turning into an urban almanac? Like anything, with data. We had been sharing our own favorite resources during our meetups and noticed at the start of the pandemic, there were so many great but boring informational spreadsheets floating around the internet of where to go, who to support, and how to help others. We wanted to compile a master list of local LA area resources and organizations for our Climate Designers LA chapter community. We categorized these answers into green vendors and design resources, Black-owned businesses and art spaces, retail, nonprofits, and especially all of the amazing urban farms we have in every corner of LA. While looking for more like-minded collaborators and to elevate our research to more than just another boring spreadsheet, Margaret came across someone from Creative Women of LA's Facebook group who's doing a similar project, and she connected us with Jamie Wang of She Grows Cities. Jamie's work as an urban planner and her team of writers and researchers added a ton of knowledge around LA city and transportation issues, and our shared passions aligned around regenerative land use, empowering local communities, and restoring food accessibility in urban food deserts. We merged our directory spreadsheet project with Jamie's Sustainability Almanac project, and the Urban Farmers Almanac was born. Now I'd like to hand it over to our incredible catalyst, Jamie Wang, as she walks us through the accessible Urban Farmer's Guide to gardening, transportation, and sustainable lifestyle choices in her hometown of Los Angeles.
Thank you so much for that extremely kind introduction. Hi, everybody. My name is Jamie. I am videoing in to chat with you all from sunny Los Angeles. I am born and raised West Coast for life. Like I'm like a hardcore Angeleno. I see someone in the chat said spreadsheets aren't boring. I don't think all spreadsheets are boring, but I can guarantee that our Urban Farmers Almanac ended up being something way more exciting than just a typical spreadsheet with data about local resources and businesses. So to kind of kick things off, can we go to the next slide, please? So real quick, just a little bit about myself and what She Grows Cities is about. So I am a Korean American mid-career professional in Los Angeles. I am a government gal. That's a reference to the show Parks and Rec, but also it's literally true. I have a career that started with the city of Los Angeles, and currently I work for the LA County Board of Supervisors as a transportation deputy. I love all things about big cities, small cities, rural areas, urban growth, urban sprawl. I'm kind of a nerd that way. And then my niche in the urban planning world is really about food justice and food systems, hence She Grows Cities. I also wanted to chronicle my kind of adventures and misadventures, navigating a career path that is predominantly not, it doesn't really include a lot of women of color just yet, but I feel like that's changing and growing really quickly. Next slide, please. So like I mentioned earlier, I just have a love for humankind's relationship with the environment, right? We have these amazing urban spaces in this current part of history that we're living in, but we're also dealing with an urgent need to address climate change. And I think our built environment is the key to the catalyst, sorry to steal Rachel's phrase, but that's the true catalyst for actual impact on climate change. Next slide, please. So this is a image. This is an image of a particular section of the almanac, which will be released later this month. It focuses on transportation, and you'll notice that some of these sections in the almanac are driven by my background as an urban planning student and also just urban planning professional. But I want to take you to the process of what it took to actually put together the almanac, because the key takeaways I want you to, thank you, Rachel, to take from my kind of spiel the next couple minutes is I want to emphasize that your project isn't going to look like our project, because your project is going to reflect your relationship with your community. And your relationship with your community is going to require your asking questions and being willing to listen to the answers. So I'll elaborate on that a little bit moving forward. But as for my process, can we go to the next slide, please? Long story short, I started going on field trips, like literally field trips to existing community gardens and urban farms. I would take pictures, talk to the owners and founders, and then put together an article for my blog, She Grows Cities, and just do what I could using my platform to kind of inform people about all these existing resources. I would hear all the time from fellow Angelenos, like, I didn't know there were urban farms. I didn't know this farmer's market existed. And it was really quite interesting to me that all these resources are around us, but we weren't utilizing what already exists. I hear a lot of talk about, like, we got to start caring, we got to start doing something, but it turns out a lot of people are already doing it. And I can bet that that is happening in your community as well. So can we move on to the next slide, please? Quick pause here. What is an almanac? In case you don't know and you're dying to know, an almanac, in short, is a seasonal guide that traditionally provides very practical technical knowledge about what to plant when and what to harvest along with what, and like moon phases, weather patterns, and so on and so forth, like the condition of the soil. So because of my narrative and passion for food justice and urban farms, this turned out to be an Urban Farmers Almanac guide. But for all of your communities, you'll see when we do the rest of our our meetup this hour, you're going to realize that these tools that we're about to share with you can really be applied to any area, whether it's a big city or a small town. Next slide, please. What I want to emphasize the most is after the field trips and after I had this idea of putting together some kind of resource guide, that's when I connected with Margaret, as was mentioned earlier, and we realized we were kind of doing the same thing. So we decided to team up, and I cannot tell you how many times that theme has reoccurred over and over during my journey with this project. This community guide turned out to become something way more beautiful and way more inclusive than I could have ever imagined. And I'm so honored and I feel so privileged that my little humble idea turned out to be something that allowed me to connect with so many grassroots organizations, so many community groups, and just so many amazing people who I found out care just as much as I do, if not more. And that's something that really warms my heart as well. So I want you to approach this project, whatever your idea is going to be, as a labor of love. Next slide, please. So by that, I mean, I consider my relationship with my built environment as an actual relationship that's not too different as any romantic or personal relationship I have with a significant other, friends, or family, right? A healthy relationship requires, communication skills. You need to understand what you're giving and what you're getting out of the relationship. So this slide is kind of demonstrating that kind of dialogue, right, in the form of a community survey that I conducted to about 150 participants in the county. They gave me back amazing feedback that told me what they wanted to know more about, why they were interested in the project, if at all, as well as some demographic info. And really quick fun fact, the majority of people interested in the project identify as female. I don't know why, but that's just something that also is reflected in this particular talk. Coincidence? I don't know. I just thought I'd put it out there. Next slide, please. So another important point related to your relationship with your community is the reason why I call it a relationship is because you should be showing rather than telling. When you're implementing your idea. So whether it's a resource guide or an actual hands-on event or something virtual, you need to remember that this isn't about you telling people your ideas. It's about exchanging ideas. And an exchange requires opening your ears and listening as well. Sometimes people need a space to be able to express their needs, and you need to be that person who's there to listen. If you want your toolbox plus your idea to come together and create something that's actually productive, regenerative, something that is, sorry to use this word, sustainable. I'm sure you've heard sustainable like a bajillion times this week. But that is really the case. You need to be able to listen to what your community is trying to tell you. Next slide, please. So I'm going to kind of wrap it up here with this slide, and I hope I'm under, I hope I'm not dragging people late on this. I'm trying to go as quickly as I can. I wanted to leave you with this slide. If you can, please take a screenshot of this. These are kind of anchor concepts, particularly in the urban planning world when it comes to sustainable land use. We call them the 3 E's. So for sustainable development, you need an equitable society that works for people of all backgrounds and ethnic backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds. You need a circular economy where your small businesses are being supported by the people who live there, who are putting their money back into their community directly. And obviously the third component is environment. So you want to make sure that your consumer habits and your actions are all things that can be reduced, reused, recycled, to put it bluntly, right? You want to be practicing consumer activities that are sustaining your economy, but also supporting maybe a small business owned by a person of color. That kind of ticks all the boxes, for instance. So these are kind of broad concepts, but I highly encourage you to please, write this down somewhere. Look up like the 3 E's Venn diagram. It's a thing in like graduate school world. Please use this concept to kind of anchor your idea. And moving forward, the ladies are going to take you on a wild ride about our toolkit and how you can use that to actually create something. And that's really the fun part. So I'm going to shut up and leave you with gratitude. Thank you for listening. And if you want to follow, what is going on with the book when it's coming out, I also have plans for a hard copy to come out that will benefit some local nonprofits, which I'm really excited about. So if you want to keep in touch or just want to say hi, I'm at She Grows Cities, and I also have a blog at shegrowscities.com. Really nice to meet you all. I hope you enjoyed this kind of hour as much as I did. And I'm going to give it back to the ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jamie. It's just such a pleasure meeting Jamie and just coming across just through a Facebook group and being connected with her, because she's such an amazing collaborator and community leader with a wealth of knowledge. So it was so great to work together on the Urban Farmers Almanac. So now that you've seen a sneak peek of the LA Guide as an example, let me know if you're ready to build your own. We're first going to go through an exercise together in an interactive tool called Mural. For those of you who may not heard of it before, it's a whiteboarding tool. I'm sure a lot of designers in the group might have heard of it. So, but no worries if you haven't used it before, because it will get us all warmed up and just familiarize ourselves with Mural before we go out to our breakout sessions. And Margie is going to share the link to our first Mural board. And there it is. Cool. So if you open the link, there's a quick tutorial on, all the shortcuts. It's really easy and intuitive to use. So we'll give you some time, a couple seconds to enter the link and read through your tutorial, but we'll also guide you through audio. But if anyone has any questions along the way, feel free to drop it in the AirMeet questions. All right. I see a lot of people are in now. We'll give it a couple more seconds. Awesome. People trickling in. Cool. All right. So now let's all meet up at the start here, pink circle. Okay, I see all the mouse gathered here. And I can also allow you to follow me. Let's see. Here. Oop. Cool. So just a quick tutorial. If you need to zoom in and out, you just do Command plus or Command minus, or if you're on Windows, Control plus and Control minus to zoom in and out of the board. So let's now try out the first activity, the first board that you see. So on the top right, of the board, you should be able to see some pins. If you can pin where you currently live on the map. You can also do Command or Control C to copy the pin and paste, just in case we run out. Awesome, wow. Looks like a lot of people are.
Looks like I'm in the ocean.
Yeah.
There's so many people on this board.
Nice. So cool to see everyone. A lot of people are in the US. Cool. All right. Now that we've done the first board, let's now try to go to the second board. And you're able to do that if you hold space. And your mouse should become a hand, so you can move your board to the second board. All right, I see now most people are on the second board. Now let's share what type of area do you live in? Do you live in a rural area, which is more countryside, away from crowded communities? Are you from suburban, which is outskirts of the city, kind of medium population density? Or if you're urban, which is like big cities, highly populated regions? Nice. I see someone got creative and changed their color. Yep, you can do a lot with mural.
There's one mural. Who is that person?
Okay, great.
It was me. I was changing everybody's colors.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I got excited.
We're
Like, I'm going to make a whole rainbow on here.
We have a lot of urban and suburban and a couple of rural. Interesting. Okay, great. Well, this workshop is going to apply to all different areas. It's a framework that you can, design your own. But it's always interesting to see different. Oh, wow. I didn't know you could do hearts and mural. That's the first. Okay, now
But
let's
also,
move.
depending on whether you live in a rural or an urban area, you'll just have different issues for your area.
Yeah. Okay. Now we are on board number 3. If everyone can gather here. All right. So in this board, we really want you to think about what aspects of your life is most sustainable and least sustainable. So you might not own a car, but maybe you fly several times a month for work, maybe pre-pandemic. Or you might eat 100% plant-based diet, but maybe most of your produce still come in wrapped in plastic that will never be recycled. So we know that sustainability is a spectrum. And so feel free to fill out the ideas on the sticky notes. Obviously, the left side is most sustainable, right side is least. You can also create new sticky notes by just double-clicking, you'll be able to, it will automatically create a new sticky note.
Yeah, and even the design of this board, we kind of surveyed our climate designers community. We did a trial run of it at a global meetup, and we kind of only had like good and bad before. And through talking to everybody, they were like, it kind of feels like it's a little too harsh. So that's why, sustainability is a spectrum. Don't think that you're doing everything perfect or everything bad. So.
And we're all learning.
Yeah. Also, if you go over to the side where the little star is, there's all kinds of other little like icons and emojis that you can use. So you can get kind of creative with.
I got a big heart here.
Ooh, you got a little mountain.
So it's on the left panel, like where all the icons are, you see a star icon. If you click on that, you're able to add any type of icons. Maybe if you agree with someone with what they put in, you can put a thumbs up or any icons. You can even search for icons. It has a huge library of icons. Get to get creative in Mural. See a lot of great answers. I ride my bike. I have an electric car. Vegan lifestyle.
Yeah, there's lots of blue ones on there.
Yeah. Let's look at the least sustainable. I'm going to read out some answers.
Trader Joe's. That's
Oh my
so
God.
true. Everything's wrapped
I
at
know.
Trader Joe's.
Yep. Plastic containers, eating meat and dairy, eating at restaurants. That's true. I guess we don't think about it as much, but behind the scenes in the restaurants.
Oh, there's a question in the chat. Is there a way to turn off the other cursors? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah, I don't know.
so.
And Jamie just posted in the chat, pre-COVID, did you know you could bring your own container for leftovers at restaurants? Yes, because I'm the weirdo that did that.
Me too. Well, no wonder we're
That's
all
why we're friends.
Yes.
I wonder how we can move that back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think in some ways the pandemic has been helpful, like not flying and driving as much, but there's also a lot more waste. So,
Nice.
All right, this is pretty full.
Awesome. We have maybe give it 10, it's counting down, like 10 more
I
seconds.
put the timer on.
Wrap up your thoughts.
1 second left. Oh,
The elevator
cool. Looks awesome.
Okay, we're gonna hop
is
back
great.
in to Air Meet for a bit. If everyone can go back to Air Meet and see our presentation. Cool.
Cool. Okay, so now that we had a chance to test out Mural, let's break off into smaller groups to do our first breakout activity on a different Mural board. In the first board, we'll introduce you to you'll introduce yourself to your table. Make sure to write someone else's name down so you remember them and not just yourself, obviously. And then the second board will get you to brainstorm issues about your neighborhood. The third board, you'll come up with questions to your survey to find out what your community needs are. Remember when Jamie said the most important part of her work was encouraging engagement and how surveying is key to finding topics that matter to your community? Instead of only offering our personal opinions on issues, it's important to conduct a questionnaire of insights from your community. She was surprised to learn that low waste period products were a common concern. Jamie would have never known that this is an issue without surveying. Instead of only offering our personal opinions on issues, it's important to, ask your community these important questions. Next slide, please. It's a great way to get information a great way to get information is by taking a field trip, like Jamie had said earlier, around your town. Talk to people, ask lifestyle questions, talk to your local businesses, find out what food products are coming from. So now we're gonna go to the lounge area, and you're gonna see this where your tables are labeled 1 through however number of tables we're going to use. Try to keep it to like 2 to 4 people per table so everyone has time to share. And once you settle into your mural board, you're going to find a circle on the mural that matches your table number. So go to that row on your mural, and we'll give you about 10 minutes to work through these first three boards. And we'll set a timer at the top, like you saw in the last slide that you worked on, to keep you on track and give you guidance to move on to the next section. Afterwards, we're going to come back to the main stage and share some insights, and then we'll break out again later. So we're going to share links according to the tables that you'll be in. Tables 1 through 4, tables 5 through 8, and tables 9 through 12 will have their own separate links. And if anyone needs any help, feel free to ask us in the chat. And now let's go to breakout rooms.
Is it sharing my screen?
Yes.
Yay.
All right. So we were spies, and we took a peek at some of your answers. And yeah, we saw some great ideas already. We saw table 1 had an idea about smaller homes. That's pretty cool.
I love table number 3 had the idea of a share shed where you can just check out tools like a library. That's awesome. We need more of that.
Yeah, and table 8, they said low-income farm worker housing.
Yeah, and then overall we saw like people mentioning about bike lanes, more bike racks. Those are all awesome ideas. Well, let us know in the chat too if you want to share some of your insights from this first activity. And now that you've kind of figured out some of the key topics and environmental concerns in your own community, and hopefully you're able to actually do this through a field trip or survey questions like what Margie mentioned and Jamie mentioned, you'll have a better idea and better understanding of what your community needs. And use those survey questions to really either create an online survey or in person, asking them what they need. So now we're going to explain your second breakout activity. As you see here, you'll be tackling these 2 boards with your same breakout group. Now, the first board, if Rachel could hit next. complements your skill sets. Get these people involved. Who are your local community leaders? Who are your researchers, city planners, like how we found Jamie, writers, and I mean, in climate designers, there's a lot of designers, illustrators. We found a photographer, also web developer, maybe, if you want to turn it online. And for our example, for our project, the LA Urban Farmers Almanac, we definitely tapped into our climate designers community and called for volunteers. And actually more than half of our volunteers came from climate designers. The second activity you'll do is you'll be figuring out what format of a sustainable guide makes the most sense for your community. So also it will based on the team that you've built in the last board. Maybe a different format will work better for where you live. What does your community need the most, and what type of resources are most relevant to them? The pandemic really shed a light on the inequalities many communities face, and there are issues like surrounding internet accessibility. So a website or an app might not be the best solution. And maybe if you're in a small town, it might be better to stuff flyers in mailboxes. So think about what works for your community. For our format, one thing for our Almanac project is that we actually want to build it online, a website, but we didn't have a developer on our team. So we went with a digital PDF to start with, which will soon, as Jamie mentioned, turn into a printed booklet. And hopefully, as we gather more people's interest, we might be able to build a website in the near future. All right, so now we're gonna go back to your groups. We're gonna give you about 10 minutes to work through these two boards. And again, if anyone needs any help, feel free to go back to AirMeet to ask any questions in the live chat. And we will send you back to the lounge to work with your teammates.
I think you're on number 43. Yeah.
All right. I hope you guys all had a great time in the last breakout room. We saw some fun answers. At the end of this session, when we get to the end, we'll ask if anybody wants to come up on stage and share what their team discovered. But for right now, we're going to explain your third breakout activity and why these last two boards are paired together. So, as we mentioned earlier, projects are more likely to result in actual change when there are both long-term partnerships and multiple funding sources. So brainstorm who you can partner with and how they can help you spread the word. Ideally, we'll partner with council members and have this be a sponsored project by the City of LA. Jamie plans to share the guide with the rest of her government colleagues to gain attention. We're also sharing it now here with all of you and giving you all of our files and templates so that you can carry on the mission. There's also an open source sharing site that we found called Toolbox, and we plan to submit this project on it too. So who are some other people that you can partner with? Get in touch with local activists, nonprofits, grassroots organizations. We really don't need to reinvent the wheel here. There are definitely already great groups out there that would love to collaborate with you on this project. Get them involved early on for an improved chance at success. Who are your council members? Find out who works for you, who's in your local government, what initiatives do they have going that could maybe even fund part of this. Who are your press and social media people? Also, go chat with your local businesses that you feature in your directory. If you get like that Elks Lodge or Girl Scouts troop to think that you've got a good idea, there's no stopping you. So next up is this funding board where you're going to brainstorm who can help you sponsor your project. Some things that we're applying for to expand this out is climategrants.earth, earthrisingfoundation.org, and we plan to reach out to paper companies such as Sappi and Mohawk, who have a free printing grant program where they sponsor the printing of projects centered around sustainability and climate change. Okay, so now we're going to send you back to your tables to work on these last 2 boards. All right. Yeah, Mark.
Yay!
Breakout
You
room.
did it.
You made
Mural
it.
boards.
Wow.
Thanks
We
for
are so
participating. Before you share your insights, we'd like to detail everything that you're going to get in our resources. Margaret's going to share the link in the live chat of what we've prepared for you. And so we have basically on the last slide of the Miro board, we put some links also there, and it's the Climate Designer Sustainable Guide Circle on the Mighty Networks. Please join and collaborate with other designers and talk to each other to like find volunteers to help build your guide and build your team. And also we have a free starter kit for designing your sustainable guide, which is a framework that will help you get you started. Here's a sneak peek into what's inside the starter kit. We made a Notion page with all the links to everything. And this includes content and research outlines, grants and funding ideas, a step-by-step guide to get started, templates to help onboard your volunteers, and also our style guide that we worked on before we built our own almanac. And this will also include a packaged InDesign template and also the digital PDF of our Work in Progress LA Sustainable Guide. So we're excited that you've all joined today. Thank you so much for staying late. I know it's a long day. And we hope that you're committed to taking this to the next level to get these guides to go global. Now, we want every city to offer their own version of a sustainable guide. If you want to keep tuning in and spreading the word, join our Mighty Network Circle so we can continue to take this framework and help you build your guide. Also, join our next global meetup on March 20th and future meetups to check in and share your progress. We'll share the link in the live chat to the next global meetup. And you can RSVP if you want, or think about it and do it later. Keep in touch with your breakout tables and the people that you meet, and just to keep this momentum going. We think
All right,
everyone, sorry.
We're going to say it together, but is that cheesy? Everyone should heart their city
and
design
design a
a
sustainable guide for every community. All right.
All right, if anybody wants to raise their hand and come up on stage to share some of their insights, go for it. Come up here with us. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Why? I don't want to be the big one.
And I think they can do the raise hand, right? If people want to share their insights, what they thought about the workshop.
Or you can share it in the chat. Oh, we got Rachel.
Rachel.
Oh, hi.
Now there's 2 Rachels and 2 Margarets.
Oh my gosh.
Double. Yeah, what a great presentation. Wow. Thank you so much, everyone. I think what was really insightful for me personally was just discussing with my groups the community aspect, right? So you mentioned how there's so many resources available that people sometimes aren't aware of or taking advantage of. So it was interesting to think about what's out there and also the future possibilities. So Table 8, we discussed community gardens and more widespread education of how composting works and really bringing it back to that community grassroots sense. So yeah, those were the major takeaways, but thank you so much. This has been such a great interactive session with Mural and everything. I've never used that before, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Wow, we're so glad
Thank
to
you,
hear. The mural boards are also a great resource for brainstorming. Like, we feel like that's a good format too. So we also had these blank templates. So if you want to bring it back to your own community and brainstorm together for, you know, issues, those are all in the starter kit link that we had. And
Yeah.
join our community in climate
Yeah.
designers.
Keep in
So
touch, everyone.
yeah.
All of the links that we've shared today are going to be on the Notion board and in the Climate Designer Circle. So, Erin.
Hi, Erin.
Hi, Erin.
How's it going?
Good.
What table number were you?
That was awesome. I was at table 4. Yep, table 4. That was great because we're all from cities, so like acknowledging that everything that we could come up with was pretty relevant to living like around a lot of people. And I mean, you know, we're not supposed to design for ourselves, so that's always a good thing. And other insights, man, when we got to the like how to share it and spread it, the information, all of us were pretty much just like papers out, social medias in, also public art. I think we've seen the value of that in the last year particularly. So that was a good thing to bring up, and TikTok. We also, once we got to the end there with the money part, all of us were like, we don't really know what happens on the money side of things, but we know it can't happen without it. So it was really hard to come up with ideas that weren't just like donations or sponsorships or like loans, like it did ways for it to not just be charitable, and rather than like built into the system. We don't know how that works. So that's
So that's why it's good to have somebody on your team that does understand that side of things.
Yeah. We made room for an accountant. That's
awesome.
Yeah, that was great. That was really eye-opening. And like, who says you can't get anything done in an hour? Can.
Yeah. And we actually have, going back to the funding in the starter kit, we added some of the ideas that we plan to fund our almanac. Now that we have done the digital PDF, we wanted to fund to do a website. So we have a list of resources for funding too, because that's how it started. You know, the project is just us, you know, doing it for free, but now it's growing more and more, and collaborating with Jamie, and she's getting the eyes of the government of LA to build this even, you know, a bigger audience. So hopefully that starter kit is going to be a good resource for a lot of these.
Yeah, we went into like lots of zero waste stores. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, zero waste stores, like the Amazon 4-star stores can be zero waste stores.
Yeah, there's a lot of like refill stations and zero waste stores around LA. So I kind of went in and told them what we were doing. They're like, "Oh my God, that's so awesome. Like, I want to be a part of it." So like getting like all of your community involved. And
yeah, that was great. I don't know if anybody else wants to share. Yeah, it's awesome. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Erin.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
Mark had to restart his computer. Sorry, so we can't kick you off stage.
That's okay. I make good company. This is great.
So yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, she left. Bye,
All right.
Erin. Thanks for coming on stage.
All right. Well, if there's any questions, there's no questions in the chat. Nobody had any questions?
I did see a great resource for planting a native garden that Katrina added. Nice.
Oh.
We have an ongoing list of resources that we hope to add in either a future website. So we're definitely gonna read it.
Thing is like a living documentation of our thoughts on Notion and everything. It's just growing and growing.
I think we have a question. Let's see.
Oh, how did you locate the various funding sources? I think that was all Jamie for the most part.
I think it's also telling your friends about doing your project. So I told a friend who we're doing this sustainable guide, and she linked me to a grant. So yeah, I think just telling your friends about it, and you never know what other people know.
That's true. Just talking to people, and then they'll share.
Yeah, they're sharing it directly
that you may not know about. So it's just like this, basically a community project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was Mark that actually told us about those printing grants from SAPI and Mohawk. Right. So I'll put that in the chat.
Yeah, maybe we can put the funding link in the chat if people are interested, but it's housed in our starter kit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you so much for all of this work and all of this organization and all of the links and resources. I'm pretty blown away. I think I've seen a lot of people in the chat saying this was really incredible, this was really useful, this was really inspiring. It seems like I don't know, it's not something that I probably would have thought to do, but now that you've given us the idea, it seems like every town should be doing this already. Why aren't they? And it shouldn't be that hard for a few of us to do, something like this for our town and at least get part of the way there to that kind of a vision. So very, very cool. I know that a lot of hard work went into this because you are so well organized and have all of your I's dotted and T's crossed. So thank you so much. All these emojis are going out for you for all of that work, and you should feel really proud. So thank you for putting that together for us. So inspiring. Yes. Awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, if this could just be like the yellow pages that used to show up on everybody's doorstep, Right.
Oh my God, that's such a good idea.
Whether you like it or not, it's going to show up and it's going to tell you where to go and
how to live more
sustainably.
I love all of the ideas that are this doesn't need to be the sort of granola hippie thing in the corner store that people who are like that can go hang out in. This should be the default. And so any way that we can move towards a world where the default is planet positive, let's try and do that. So it is pretty late, especially for folks on the East Coast, and I'm in Central Time, so I'm kind of nodding off now. So I will let us go without too much further announcements. We do have another exciting day tomorrow. We come back here at I want to get the time right. I believe it is 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
Correct.
Somebody check my math. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we have a panel on what's it called? My computer just locked up, so everything.
The future is regenerative.
The future is regenerative. Check out the description on the Hey Summit website. It's going to be a lively panel discussion. And then right after that, we have a panel on behavior design. So yes. 2 panels back to back, super important stuff. So 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 Eastern, whatever other time you're in your time zone. But this session was amazing. Thank you, LA chapter. You went above and beyond. Very well organized. You got a lot of thumbs up, a lot of accolades and positive notes in the chat. yeah, so again, if any of you are interested in starting your own chapter, let me know. You're seeing kind of the quality of work here with this last session. So
Way to set the bar high, y'all. Good job.
all right, everyone, have a good evening. Have a good rest of the day. See you all tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Hearts.